Welcome to Bengals on the Brain. I am Joe Goodberry. This is our first live show, guys. I know you're excited. I'm excited, too, to talk about this. The season's opening. We got a game in 2 days, Bills-Rams. We got a Bengals-Steelers kicking off AFC North right away in style and fashion. Bengals season. I want to know your thoughts. I want to know what you think about this week 1, what you think for the season. Get a lot of feedback on Twitter already. I think there's some little bit of trepidation going into this week 1 by some people, yet there's still, some feeling of confidence going into Steelers week, which we haven't had in a while, even though the Bengals have won 3 in a row. And you see at the bottom there, we've got a phone number to call, 513-905-4585. And, we can talk anything. It doesn't have to be week 1 and season. I would like to get your take on that. But also, if you just want to talk ball, now's your chance. We don't get that too often and too many opportunities to just connect with other Bengals fans in a way like this. But we got some comments already on YouTube and things that are already piquing my interest here. As I said 85 in the phone number there, I immediately thought Chad Johnson, right? But then I see someone else here saying 85 is going for 100 plus. That's from Randy Zaldana, which is of course T. Higgins. So of course 85 always is the leading wide receiver for the Bengals, as it seems. We got number 1 now. But we are going to take calls because we have calls right away. So I'd like to jump into that right away. I could talk Bengals, Steelers all day, but I assume we want other things on topic here. Our first caller is from Andrew from Richmond. And Andrew, you there, buddy?
I'm here.
How are you doing?
Happy to be on with you. I'm doing good. How are you doing?
Doing great. What do you got
I'm
for
happy
us?
to be on with the original Joe Shiesty, Joe Goodberry. I just want to talk to you today about Steven Ruiz and his list today. Steelers, that's easy. I'm not even worried about this weekend. But the disrespect to Joe Burrow's got to stop. Number 9, come on. Kind of ridiculous. That's all I got to say. I want to hear your thoughts on it.
Yeah, if you know Steven Ruiz, I believe with the Ringer, he hasn't been very kind to Joe Burrow. You know what it is? I respect Steven Ruiz. I do, because I know he puts in a lot of work. I know he does a lot of good work. I read a lot of his stuff. I even like the layout and everything he did with the quarterback, rankings. It's just, do I agree with Burrow completely? No. Do I understand the evaluation? I do. There are people on that side of the spectrum of the evaluation that say, they are concerned about his physical attributes. They would rather have a guy that has the physical makeup of a Justin Herbert or a Josh Allen and a Pat Mahomes. Well, who wouldn't, right? I mean, everyone would agree with, they'd love if Joe Burrow was that. But I think that's discounting what Burrow does and not valuing what Burrow does that makes him special and what the Bengals really needed to be their quarterback and be their franchise signal caller. So I'm with you. I would have it higher because my numbers would look different than his. I would have Joe Burrow's arm strength as a 76 because I think there's different levels to arm strength. I don't think it's just how far you can throw a ball. I don't think it's just velocity. I think it's throwing from different arm angles. I think it's throwing off platform, off base. I think it's making plays off script. And sometimes you got a guy draped around your legs or trying to pull you down, or, after we've seen Burrow take a hit, spin off and make a nice throw. There are parts to arm strength that are just more than just, launching a football very far, very fast. I would include arm talent in that. And I think Burrow does have the arm talent. And I think he's got all those things that I've said. Yes, I do wish he could, rifle a ball 90 miles an hour, 45 yards on a rope, but he doesn't have to because all of the rest of his game has caught up to make up for it, where some guys maybe are lacking, especially guys that grew up with physical traits that Burrow doesn't possess. We know that if you're around high school or college football, those guys tend to not process as quickly and have the pocket awareness that Burrow does. And Burrow had to develop that to be the number 1 pick. So I'm with you. And thank you for the call, Andrew. I don't know if this bothers people anymore, the rankings of a Joe Burrow, the rankings of any Bengals player. I get the idea of feeling disrespected for so long. Feeling, where are we at? Where are we in the national limelight? Do we still care? Is that something we all still care about? I think there is a little bit of it because the Bengals are still, as in, winning the AFC last year and going to the Super Bowl and being within maybe even a half second of launching a deep ball to Jamar Chase and winning it all. Still feel that pain, even saying that. But should they be closer, right? Should they be more respected around the league? We'll move on to the next caller here. We got John from Dayton, and he wants to talk about week 1. John, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Joe, man, it's really good to talk to you. I'm a huge fan. Like, I can't believe I'm talking to you right now, man.
That's nice to talk to you too.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking that we go out week 1, and I think that we tear them apart. Like, I just really do. I think we come out strong. I think Burrow has a good game. I just think that their offense is not going to really compete with our underrated defense that people just really don't respect yet. And I just kind of want to see what you think on that.
Oh, man, I agree on the underrated defense part. I think the way the defense played in the playoffs, people didn't expect that. I think definitely national analysts, as we go from the first question there, talking about Steven Ruiz, I think a lot of people were shocked by the defense. We knew what they could do because we saw it in flashes. It wasn't as consistent last year as we wanted, or at least I think as even they wanted. It was a growing thing. And, when they played as well as they did in the playoffs, everyone's like, oh, they carried the team. I would agree. Without that defense playing the way they did, they don't make it to the Super Bowl, obviously. And I do think there's a chance it could be better this year. I think losing Larry Ogunjobi is really the only loss on that side of the ball. But getting a Dax Hill, adding depth and Cam Taylor-Britt, I'm excited to see what Zach Carter looks like. And to be honest with you, I think Joseph Asai could be exactly what the defense needs in terms of last year. How many times did we see, if it wasn't Trey Hendrickson getting a pass rush, which he did a lot, he provided that rush. But when he had to go out for, a few reps or a series, or he wasn't just having a day, man, the pass rush really was anemic. And I think, when you get a guy like Osai, and if he is what we expect, I had a first-round grade on him coming out of Texas. I thought he was raw. He needed the reps, but, man, he's not expected to start here. He's going to get his chance. He's going to play. I think the Bengals, the way they played him in preseason, shows he's going to be a big part of this defense. I think that could be huge. And I'm with you on offense too, John. Like, man, Burrow carved them up last year. Absolutely destroyed them. They didn't have T. Higgins that first game, in the beginning of the year when they went through them like nothing. I mean, it's interesting because when you watch the Bengals and their offense, and they like to throw it deep to their guys downfield, right, as Burrow said about Zach Taylor, the Steelers like to play cover 1 and cover 3 as much as everyone, and they like to blitz as much as anyone. And Joe Burrow lives for that, and the deep ball thrives on that stuff. And so, I welcome the Steelers defense. I know they got the horses up front with Hayward and Watt, but I don't think they're going to change what they do. They're going to be who they are, and because of it, it's going to give the Bengals a lot of chances to throw the ball deep downfield.
I think it's going to be really cool.
Yes, sir. Do you have a prediction? What do you think for them?
They got I don't know. I'm thinking 31-21 kind of. We carve them up. We do our thing, but I also think maybe they get some garbage time stuff. Maybe in the last bit of the game when everybody's kind of down in their last beer and kind of just ready to cheer and hang out,
Yeah, I could see that for sure. I could also see a slow start being week 1, maybe the game's closer than we expect in the first half, 14-10 type thing. And then the second half, the Bengals roll out and pull away a little bit.
Yeah. Hey, and Joe, I got to come clean. My name's not John. My name is Ben. Ben Galorian.
Oh, sure it is. What's up, man? How are you?
Oh, it's me, man. I wanted to call, and it is me. I just wanted to call and talk to you as just a different person, man. I appreciate it. I love your show, man. I'm going to share the heck out of it.
Thanks,
Keep doing your thing, man.
All right, take care.
All right, see ya.
Bye. Bangalorian. You guys know him, right? That was pretty funny. I appreciate that. We're going right to the next caller here. We've got Matt from Lexington. I'm hitting the button now, Matt. When you're on, how are you, buddy?
Hey, Matt. Joe. How's it going, man? First of all, I like to see the ODS T-shirt.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, anyone knows me knows I like Halo. Yep. What you got on your mind, Matt?
I just wanted so I don't know if you saw, I'm sure you did. The Steelers depth chart came out today, and it looks like they got Larry Ogunjobi listed at defensive end. Yeah. Do you think he's going to end up playing any edge, or how do you think they're going to fit him into their defensive lineup?
Yeah, good question, because I get this a lot still from some people that look at the Bengals defense last year and are surprised that I call them a 3-4 defense. And because I think they are an odd man front, especially last year. Many packages, right, with Ogunjobi and BJ Hill at defensive tackle, DJ Reader at nose tackle. The Steelers are also an odd front in their base package. And so I think when they list Ogunjobi at end, it's really defensive tackle. And that's just how they list their depth chart, because they list TJ Watt as a linebacker. And in my opinion, he's an edge defender. He's a defensive end. He dropped into coverage 3 more times than Trey Hendrickson last year. So, we wouldn't call Trey Hendrickson a linebacker. So, it's semantics at this point, however you want to label it and call it. But Ogunjobi will be inside and will be rushing from the inside. And I think he'll be very similar role to where he was last year.
Nice. You think that foot's going to bother him at all? Or do you think he's ready to go Sunday?
I am interested in that. Yeah, because remember, he lost that contract with the Bears, right? That was almost going to be that was life-changing money right there. He and Tyson Alualu, their nose tackle, both guys coming off injury, and have to see if they're both healthy. That really strengthens their interior defensive line. If they're not, or if they have issues, or they can't play, everything that every minute or every snap, yeah, that's gonna hurt the Steelers a little bit. Yeah, anything else for me, Matt, or you got a prediction for the end of the game here? What do you think?
Oh, man, well, I'm going to be there Sunday, so
Okay.
I'm pretty excited that. I'm really hoping it doesn't rain. Yeah, I mean, I want to put us in the 40s. I really do.
Ooh.
But I don't know. I might tamper maybe down 35 to, let's say, maybe 21. I don't know. I like what Ben Galorian was saying. Some garbage time stuff.
Yeah.
We might get another one. Maybe we got the backups in, something like that. But
so are you feeling
confident.
like that's what I was going to say? Are you confident? Are you still feeling the big brother thing or the bully thing from the Steelers?
No, Ryan Finley took care of that for me, man.
Yeah, that's right.
That Monday night, I'm good. I'm good to go now.
That's right. I'm with you, Matt. Thank you for the call, buddy. I wonder how many people.
Hey,
Sorry to cut you off there. I wonder how many people feel that same way with the Ryan Finley thing, right? That smile. You just remember it, right? How do you let Ryan Finley beat them? That which makes it now 3 times in a row the Bengals have beaten the Steelers. So, very interesting that hasn't happened, I think, since 1990. John, or we got Justin from Somerset. Justin, how are you doing, buddy?
Good. How are you doing, Joe?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for calling in.
I just want to say that I've been a fan of you since you started. I follow you on Twitter and all that. I honestly just wanted to get your predictions on what you thought we were going to do against the Steelers.
Well, I said I think the passing offense is going to have a chance to do what they do best and throw it down the field just the way the Steelers play. I do think the Steelers, there's a lot of talk about them having a very physical camp, very physical preseason, and it kind of makes me wonder if that will counteract the Bengals not playing in preseason at all, especially their starters. Will that lead to a rougher beginning of the game? The Steelers last year, even with a Big Ben at quarterback, that was a shell of himself, right? They beat the Bills week 1. And, the Bills end up going.
Oh, yeah.
Things happen, right? You can beat a good team. Week 1 is a little weird. And so I do think there is some of that. But I look at the rosters of both teams, and I just feel like the Bengals are clearly better in most of the positions, especially the positions that matter. Maybe pass rush is a little bit behind the Steelers, but, man, I think it was last year the Bengals had more pressures total for the year. Steelers had 6 more sacks for the year. I mean, it's just Trey Hendrickson is an elite rusher. He can go toe-to-toe with Watt in terms of pass rush. He's not the run defender Watt is. Watt is truly an all-around guy. DJ Reader is probably the best nose tackle in the game, while Cam Hayward's probably a top 5, top 4 interior defensive lineman, better overall player than DJ Reader. But, I think the Steelers are going to want to run the ball, which makes DJ Reader's game that much more important. So, if I were to make a prediction, I do think the Bengals win. I think it could be closer than expected, 28-20 type of game where it's just only 1 score because of a garbage time play or something gets the Steelers close at the end with a field goal or something like that. But Justin, thank you for the call, man. Thanks for being a longtime follower and the kind words.
Yeah. Also, you have to you have to also realize that DJ's a captain now too, so
That's
he
right.
might show out a lot more this year.
Yeah, that'd be nice.
Yeah, you have a good day too, Joe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, if DJ Reader shows out any more than he has been, man, he's going to be a Pro Bowler, which I don't think he's been a Pro Bowler yet. So that would be nice to get DJ Reader in that spot now that he's a new captain. Next, we got Charlie from Tuscaloosa. Charlie, what's up, man?
Well, I'm currently an Alabama student, and as an Alabama student, I want to get your opinion on the former member of the Crimson Tide, Jonah Williams, and I'm curious about your expectations for him this year, what you might be thinking, how he plays, and then also I was just wondering how you think the three-headed monster is going to do. Maybe give some yardage total predictions with them and Hurst.
Yeah, I haven't done that for the receivers yet, actually. I usually do a stat projection for all, the players on offense, and I haven't done that. Maybe I'll work on something like that tomorrow, but I can probably give you a rough estimate from now. But Jonah Williams, I think I would pick him as my breakout candidate. He's young. He's one of the youngest players still on the team. I think he's 24. He's getting his second full season to start now. Second year with Frank Pollock, after dealing with Jim Turner the first year and a half as he was hurt his rookie season. I think Jonah's gotten better each year. Yeah, he gave up 10 sacks last season, and he got beat in ways that I think good to elite tackles don't get beaten in just laps of play. He's not the biggest guy. He's not the bulkiest dude, the strongest dude, but I think he's technically sound, extremely smart, and I think he's gotten better every year. And I looked at data for the past, I think it was 8 seasons, looking at PFF data and things like that for how do offensive tackles progress? How do guards progress? I started doing this looking at Jackson Carman. Do players that perform that poorly as rookies take a next step? Typically, they do not. That was in reference to Carman. But Jonah Williams, the tackles that are drafted highly, that have steady linear progression or show at least starter upside by year 2, that year 3, given his age, they usually take one more big jump in their game. And if that's the case, man, I know we're excited about this offensive line, but if Jonah does that, he's going to get an extension and he's going to be their left tackle for a long time. And I think that would make a lot of people around here more comfortable with the offensive line situation, not just now, but going forward. So we're all rooting for that. We're hoping to see that. There were times in reports from camp where he and Trey Hendrickson were just going at it. Jonah would have some great plays and Hendrickson would beat him. And, I think that's just a matchup of you're going against a Pro Bowler and Hendrickson's. It's good work for Jonah Williams. So I'm still on the team of Williams being the breakout guy this year for this offense and this team. And for the trio, man, I think they all want that 1,000-yard mark for the 3 receivers. I think Ja'Marr Chase is going to take another step in his game, which is crazy because he had such an amazing, probably the best rookie season of all time, right? For a receiver, especially because he got all the way to the Super Bowl and almost won the game. But I think they're going to move him around more. I think they're going to in the slot more. I don't think it's just going to be deep balls all the time. I think Ja'Marr Chase is going to be a guy that's going to get 10 to 15 targets a game. As you're going to look up and it's week 15 and he's got 170 targets already, and they're just feeding them the ball as they're trying to clinch a top seed in the playoffs. I think it's going to be that type of year. I think 1,500 yards, 15 touchdowns type thing, basically what Justin Jefferson's been doing. I think it's going to be like that for Ja'Marr Chase, 100 catches, if not plus, 115. And I think Tyler Boyd maybe loses a little bit of catches from that. But again, I think quality targets favor Higgins and Chase in this offense. I think Higgins is going to, again, what he did last year in a 16-game, because he missed some time, so in the playoffs as well, what he did, man, 1,400 yards, I believe it was total, exactly on the dot. I think he's a 12 to 1,300-yard type receiver, 8 to 12 touchdown type of guy if he stays healthy. Now, he's dealt with injuries as a rookie, dealt with injuries in his sophomore year in the NFL. Will that hold him back? Will that limit him? Is that where Boyd catches up? Is that where Ja'Marr Chase has his big days where he has to take over? And I think Boyd is what he is, which can be 120 targets. He can get close to 80 catches. And if he breaks off a few of them, get really close to that 1,000-yard mark. And I bet if he's real close towards the end of the year and the other 2 guys have it, I think they're going to push to get Tyler Boyd that triple crown for this receiver unit. But Charlie, thank you for the call. And I'm glad to talk about Jonah Williams on there because I'm sure we'll get a lot of talk about receivers, but to get get some Jonah Williams talk. I think the Bengals should be approaching him for a contract already if they haven't, and get a little closer to extending him and getting his cap number down. And next we have Dylan from Blue Ash. Dylan, you there, man?
Yeah, how you doing, Joe?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad at all. So I wanted to continue a little bit of offensive line talk. Obviously, they picked up Max Sharping. I'm just wanting to know, what kind of rope do you think Cordell Volson has? Not to rain on his parade, but what kind of rope do you think he has before maybe someone like Sharping could come for him?
Yeah. There's a chance that Volson comes out of the gates a bit rough. He's coming from a smaller school. He's a guy that comes from a heavy run blocking system, a good run blocking system at North Dakota State. But in pass protection, a lot of it was misdirection, play action, quick passes, not a lot of true pass sets where he's going to have to really protect for a quarterback in a 5-7 step drop. So is he going to be rough there? Is that where he's going to stand out negatively? We'll find out. But I do wonder, if they think he's the guy to, and I think this is why they made the decision of Volson over Carmen, not just because he outplayed him, but also you have to decide because you have two young prospects that you liked at some point during the draft season, right? So who's the guy that you feel is going to take the coaching, apply the coaching, and get better throughout the season? And I think they picked Cordell Volson as that guy over Jackson Carman and so when they get to week 2, 3, 4, if Volson isn't performing to what they think he can, but behind the scenes in the coaching rooms, on the whiteboard, in the film room, answering all the questions, in practice, getting better, and they feel he's steadily progressing, I think the leash will be a little bit long. And I think they'll give him his chances to improve. Now, if they get to the bye week, they're halfway through the year, and Volson hasn't done that in the games, then I think that's when we could see Max Sharping getting in. And again, no one's going to stay healthy either. I mean, there's going to be an injury somewhere on this offensive line at some point. Max Sharping played tackle in college. He's played guard in the NFL. I think there's a chance he gets in there, without even taking someone's job per se, and just getting it because somebody gets hurt as it tends to happen. So, I'm excited to see him though. Same thing. I had a first round grade on Max Sharping. I thought, first early second round was perfect for him and as a developmental upside guy. And the Texans have been kind of a dumpster fire the last few years. So maybe you can get more out of them. Maybe, there's still some upside left to go. But thank you for the call, man. And O-line. We're going to talk about O-line a lot for the whole year, right? It's been a 5-year thing, I feel like, at this point. I feel like I've been talking O-line, writing about O-line. And, man, I'd love if that wasn't even a topic anymore. Remember back in 2015 and 2005 when we didn't even worry about this offensive line? But, we got Mike next. Mike from Charlotte. Mike, what do you got on your mind?
Hey, how you doing, Mr. Goodberry? Great show, man. Awesome to be talking to you. Hey, the one thing from last year that kind of bothered me a little bit with the firepower that we have, number of occasions, of course, Kansas City twice, Raiders, Jaguars, get off to a slow start and playing from behind. Yes, it's great to see, and everybody goes crazy about the big plays. Do you think that was just Zach not getting the beginning of the game going the way he wanted? Or do you think that, I really don't want to say he was out-coached, or do you think it was just an offensive line problem? Why couldn't we get going? And how do the Bengals prevent that? Love your show. I'm going to go ahead and hang up and listen offline.
All right. Thank you, Mike. Thank you for the call. The slow starts are a big problem, right? I remember even in the Lions game, the Bengals blow out the Lions, right? But right before the 2-minute warning of the halftime, the Bengals haven't had a big play yet. They eventually get a go ball down the sideline right versus the cover 2 to Jamar Chase, right? As that seemed to have been the spark every week when they were struggling, was a deep ball to Chase somehow. Just was exactly what the doctor ordered. But you can't start off like that. Their first drives were abysmal. One of their best drives all year was the blowout that they lost to the Browns, and they throw a pick 6 at the goal line. But the first drive was beautiful. It's an issue. It's something they've got to fix. And is it an offensive line issue? I think a lot of it can be. When you are extremely inconsistent up front, all it takes is one missed block or one missed assignment in order to really terminate an entire play, kill a play, right? Because, they wanted to protect Burrow, I think, early in the year, run the ball with Joe Mixon. They want to run with Mixon anyways. but they wanted to, start off with a balanced offense to come out. And it just was hard to do that when an offensive line that was as inconsistent as it was. But that's not to say they didn't make their own mistakes also. There was times, I think of the 49ers game, it seemed like they were just grinding the ball into the teeth of the heart of the 49ers defense, what they did best. At some point, you just had to take the reins off and let Joe Burrow cook. And I could see that being in a few games this year where we're annoyed by, the second quarter. We have to remember, even in the game, the 41-17 beating of the Ravens, it was 14-10 at one point, and the Bengals just go on a run from that point and really leave the Ravens in the dust. You can't score 40 on your first 3 drives, right? You gotta. It does take some time, but we'd like to see those first couple drives maybe be a bit more aggressive, be more fluid, be more efficient. The Bengals' efficiency as a whole put them out of the top 10 on offense. But when you take out the sacks, when you take out the pre-snap penalties, and you add a little bit more consistency to the early down success, I was looking at this on Warren Sharp's data, and they would have been like number 6 on EPA or points per drive, which that's how they felt, right? It felt like a top 5 offense potential being destroyed and held back by a poor offensive line. So thank you for the call, man. And that is a good question, something we're definitely going to talk about much more. We're going to move on and keep going. Remember, you can call in 513-905-4585. Next, we have Tyler from Cold Spring. Tyler, how are you?
Hey, Joe. How you doing?
Pretty good.
I have 2 things for you tonight. Like James Rapine, I'm going to start with the offense side of the ball.
Okay.
How will this team score in the red zone? I feel like they settled for a lot of field goals last year. Can they get the ball in the end zone? And for the second one, not enough people are talking about this linebacker core with Logan Wilson and the guys that come back. What are your thoughts on those guys?
Yeah, the red zone. Red zone's probably going to be their biggest hurdle this year, I think. Not because it's going to be an issue for them. If they solve it, it won't be that big of a hurdle. But the point is, I think they're going to end up in red zone situations much more often. Defenses they're going to look at the Bengals offense and say, we are not going to single up Jamar Chase at all. You're going to have to beat us. We're going to show you maybe cover 1, cover 3. Now the data says they're going to get it a lot this year, more than any team. They're going to get one-on-one on the outside. I just can't believe it. I just can't believe defense coordinators are going to stick to what they do throughout the year and let Jamar Chase run down the field. So I expect more even coverages, cover 2, cover 4, shells. Don't let these guys run free downfield. Let Mixon run wild up the middle. I'd rather die by 1,000 cuts than just hitting Jamar Chase 3 times and he goes for 200-something yards and gritties in the end zone while my guy's laying face first in the dirt, right? So if that's fouls on the other side, we like watching that. So what does that mean? Longer drives, more plays in the drives, more red zone scoring because they're not going to be scoring from the 40 and back. They're going to have to drive into the red zone and punch it in from there. I think that starts with consistency running the ball. Starts with consistency up front, offensive line getting pushed, creating holes, let Mixon one cut and go and not have to avoid a guy in the backfield. If he can gain positive yardage, the windows get smaller for passing. You've got to run the ball in the red zone. I'm not a huge run the ball guy. I'm a you throw to win in today's NFL. But in the red zone, I do think you got to run, and that's where you really value the run game and a guy like Joe Mixon. So I do think Hayden Hurst helps there. I think he's a big target. Obviously, T. Higgins, Jamar Chase is great in the red zone. You can always count on Tyler Boyd, but I think red zone is Mixon time. Let Joe do what he's got to do, and if teams want to play shells the whole time, let Mixon finish it up the middle and do what he's got to do there. As for the linebackers, I like the linebacker unit. It's funny, I was talking about where the Bengals outshine the Steelers today on defense, where like different position groups, I would take the Bengals in most scenarios. And I said linebackers were close. That's because I like Devin Bush coming out. I liked Miles Jack coming out. They haven't lately. Miles Jack hasn't been great. Devin Bush hasn't been good at all as a rookie or as an NFL player. I think the Steelers expect to get better production there, but so should I have had them so close? My priors, they've been blown up. Should I still hold true to them? I liked Logan Wilson. I like Akeem Davis-Gaither. I like Jermaine Pratt coming out. So why do I feel the way I do? Well, Logan Wilson's had injuries as a rookie. He had injuries last year, sophomore year as well. Akeem Davis-Gaither, again, injuries. He was injured coming out of college, out of Appalachian State. He was injured last year for most of the year. Jermaine Pratt's really been the steady one for them, and he's made steady progress each year. I mean, and getting that interception to win that Raiders first playoff game in 31 years. Special moment. But is he consistent enough? Is he good enough in coverage? I think the Bengals would like to remove Jermaine Pratt from the nickel packages and put a safety in there if they can. And that's when Dax Hill gets on the field, right? And it doesn't mean he's in the box, but it could be Von Bell in the box. It could be Dax Hill covering a guy in the slot or out wide. I think Logan Wilson is that dude, though. And I think if he's healthy and he's good, he's really good. And I can't wait to see, a full 16-game slate with him. We haven't seen it yet. There was times even last year where I thought he started off super hot, went on a lull, got hurt, and then came back really hot and had a tremendous. I think he could have nearly been Super Bowl MVP if that defense would have held right at the end there and didn't let the Rams score at the end there. So I like the unit, and I think there's even another, maybe even 2 or 3 steps for each individual to go. I'm excited to see Akeem Davis-Gaither this year also. I think he can carve out a little niche role for them. But thank you for the call, Tyler. I appreciate the kind words.
Yeah, have a good night.
You too. Moving on, taking the next call. We're going to keep them going because we're starting to pile up. We've got Steve from New York. Steve, what's on your mind?
Hey, what's up, man? I got you made a point about the Steelers being bullies that I just wanted to talk about real quick.
Please do.
I think they're bullies, or the Bengals think they're bullies, but I think Mike Tomlin still thinks they're the bullies and they own the division. And I think with his mentality, he's definitely going to want to play it like they're the bullies. So we're going to see a lot of pushing the envelope, a lot of maybe George Pickens hitting Eli Apple a bit hard, maybe Cam Hayward if he tackles Joe Burrow, gives him a punch on the chest like he did Herbert. But I want to know what you think about that.
Yeah, I know. It's an interesting thing, right? Because I think what's more threatening, right? When you are going into someone's house and they've bullied you forever and you've got nothing to lose, right? So one punch, you knock them out, David versus Goliath type thing, right? You're David, but that's been the Bengals for so long. Or is it more threatening when you've been the bully, you've been the older brother for so long, and that team beat you in such a way? Like, they weren't even close to the Bengals last 2 years. And they got embarrassed on primetime against Ryan Finley. Like, is that, does that hurt your pride? Does that make you want revenge? I always think of the Steelers, and just hurting players. And I know this coming from, like, if any Steelers fans listen to this, they're going to be like, the Bengals have always been dirty. They're dirty. And, like, you got to understand it. The way we view the Steelers is like they are the evil empire. They are the worst of the worst. And they will do anything if they sense any bit of Carson Palmer and the Bengals. Maybe that would have been a dynasty, right, of controlling the AFC North for how long. They took them out first chance they got, right, in the playoffs. That's how I feel as a young man when I was watching that game, true or not. But point is, what is that? What if that is how they feel? What are we going to get out of the Steelers? What kind of game are we going to get? Are we going to get them where they're pissed off? Are they going to want to fight? Is this what's already going to come about? Or are the Bengals going to squash that so early because they're not going to be able to touch them? Because last year there was no fighting, right? It didn't flare up at all because the game was controlled by the Bengals from start to finish. So, Steve, thanks for the call. I don't know. I hope we don't see that. Honestly, I'm done with the fighting with the Steelers stuff, just because I feel like the Bengals have the upper hand. As my phone's buzzing here, we got James Rapine and Nick, the producer, going nuts. I need to silence this. We're going to keep the calls going and talk to Rodney from Minnesota. Rodney, what do you got, man?
Oh, hi. First off, want to say a huge fan.
Thank you.
Loving everything that the Bengals have been doing. I'm a huge fan, a huge advocate, even when they were the Bungles. My main question, I'm mainly looking at the defense here. So I want to know what your thoughts are. By the way, I'm just joining into the stream. You probably already talked on this, but if not, so here's my question.
Okay.
I wanted to know how you felt about Cam Taylor-Britt and Dax Hill, especially. Those two that were picked up. I feel like, especially Dax, a lot of potential, a lot of ability to be Defensive Rookie of the Year. Daxton Hill, I already said Daxton. Cam Taylor-Britt, you know what I was trying to say. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But Cam Taylor-Britt, he's someone that I've been looking at when he was in college, someone I've been watching. He's always impressed me. So I want to get what your thoughts on those two especially are. What do you think that they're going to bring to the table as far as our defense goes?
Yeah, pre-draft, I mean, I had Dax Hill in the top 10. I do this project with Jake Lisco, host of Locked On Bengals. We've done this for about 4 years now. Let the process rank guys, and Dax Hill came out super high. And when I watched him on film before we got the final numbers, I was like, okay, they play him in the box. They play him as a slot corner. Is he that? Can he hold up in the box? Because he's kind of thin, or at least he definitely was at Michigan. And is he a free safety? In the flashes we got, the 80 snaps is all we got out of Dax Hill at free safety at Michigan last year. We didn't get enough to really be sure. Now, the athleticism and the traits showed he could do it. It just was kind of like, can he do it right away? I didn't know, not meeting the guy, not talking to him. I didn't know his intelligence. Hearing the stories after the draft about how they loved him and his intelligence made me like, okay, he's going to be able to pick this up, no problem. But he came out as a top 10 player in the entire draft. Get him at 31, you do that all day. I think what he showed in preseason shows he can be that free safety and potentially replace Jesse Bates, because I love Jesse Bates. I think you don't get rid of guys like that. You don't get rid of guys that are apex defenders, and I think he's one of them. But when you get Dax Hill, and he can do a lot of that, and he might even be more athletic, man, I would love the two of them together. Whatever they'd have to do, let's do it. But at the same time, he could potentially replace Jesse Bates and a second team all-pro type of guy. Yeah, I'm all for it, and I hope to see. Oh, man, Defensive Rookie of the Year. I know he wants that. I saw the video the Bengals put out on Twitter today or on social media. It's hard for a safety to win it. I wonder when the last safety was. If someone wants to do some research, let me know. But Cam Taylor-Britt, physical zone corner, super speedy, very athletic, good tackler, wants to hit, super confident. You like all those things. He can get caught or moved in with his eyes. His eyes will betray him a little bit as he tries to jump combo routes and things, and quarterbacks will move him a little. I think sometimes he's a little stiff. Maybe he doesn't transition well in and out of phase. Having said that, I think as a zone, you want a zone corner that's physical. What do I look for in corners? Physical, athletic traits. Will he tackle? I think, in my opinion, that shows competitiveness. It shows some pride in your game, and he's got both of those. And then lastly, his ball skills. And I thought he's fine. He passes all the marks on ball skills. You got to be able to turn, locate, play the football in the air. If you can't, we've seen a lot of athletic guys not make it in the NFL. So I had him in the second round. Bengals took him in the second round. I think he was ranked exactly where they drafted him, or at least one or two spots. So good value there. I do think he could end up being a starter. I wish we would have seen him in preseason. It sucks that, he core muscle injury, whatever that is, if that's a hernia or whatever, probably won't see him for 4 weeks or so as he sits on IR, maybe a little bit longer, as we got to see how it plays out. And if he can pass Flowers as the last, as the fourth corner, and then eventually could he beat out Eli Apple at that side? Apple's been playing well, it sounds. So we'll see how it goes there. But Rodney, thank you for the call, and good questions there on the secondary. I always like talking about draft and draft evaluation. It's not that season, but because nothing can change your evaluation yet other than a little bit of preseason, I'm down to talk about it and, go from there. Next call we have is Perry from Cincy. Perry, what do you got?
Hey, what's up, Joe? I'm a big fan, man. Love your insight. Hope all is well.
Thank you, buddy.
So I want to pick your brain. On the long-term view for the Bengals, and how would you rank in terms of most important to the team keeping these guys? How would you rank these upcoming free agents, from Jesse Bates to Joe Burrow, Tyler Boyd?
See here, I'm on Spotrac right now looking for free agents. There we go, free agents. See how this goes as it's coming up. How would I rank them?
Of course, you got to keep Joe Burrow
right next year. I don't think they have anyone else now that as it's loading and coming up. Man. Yeah, it's just Jesse Bates and Hayden Hurst, obviously. We have to see how
Jermaine Pratt, Logan Wilson coming up.
Layout count. I see why it shows layout counts, because he's basically a year to year. They'll see how injured he is. That's about it, man. They're good. Von Bell, Jesse Bates. They have to pick one of the safeties if they want. We got to see how Tyson Anderson plays. I think it's easy to rank these guys. We got to kind of have to see how the rookies play and we can rank the safeties. But after that, we got to see how Hayden Hurst plays as well. I can see tight end being a high draft pick for them, first, second, third round type of thing again next year. But do you keep Hayden Hurst on a 1-year deal? Then you got Eli Apple again. So yeah, I think it's easy to rank. I don't think free agency is a big issue for them. Even if they let all those guys walk, if Dax Hill plays great, if we can get enough, are we even going to get enough snaps out of Tyson Anderson to be sure of what he is and isn't? So that'll be the hardest part. But yeah, it's definitely Jesse Bates is priority number one, if that's even an option anymore. After that, I think Von Bell is priority number two, and I think after that, you got to see what Hayden Hurst can do and Eli Apple. And, are they just pieces you fill in after the first, second wave of free agency, kind of like how it was this year? Even if they play well, is that a big priority? Or do you start working on the contracts of Joe Burrow, of T. Higgins, of Jonah Williams? Get those guys signed now so their cap hits in the future are a few million less and you can fit more guys in. I think that's the priority. Fit as many guys as you can to make this window as wide as you can for as long as you can. Barry, thanks for the call, man. Free agency will be a full few months conversation. I'm pretty sure about that when we get there. Hopefully we get there with a ring on the finger, right? Or at least a successful playoff run. Next, we got Ray from Boston. And Ray, what do you got?
Hey, Joe. Yeah, this is Ray Abla. I just talked to you on Twitter about the Bengals on the brain hat. Still, yeah, can you hear me?
Well, all right. We don't have Ray. I'll keep it moving. Next one is Brendan from New York. Brendan, are you there?
Hey, hello. Hey, huge fan, Joe. Just had a question. Curious if, I was a huge fan of the Bengals' approach of shoring up the offensive line and free agency.
Can you hear me?
Spending draft capital.
You can. Well, I don't know. I can't hear anyone else now. Maybe it's I'm not hearing the calls here.
Can you hear me?
He's talking right now.
You can't even hear me.
And we'll just keep it rolling for a minute there and see what's going on. If it's it's probably on my end. It definitely is. Nick's nodding his head. We got Nick in the background here controlling everything. And then halfway through talking there, I lost all sound in my mic or in my headphones. But I didn't give my prediction. I did give my prediction on the game. I will say then, if we can't get this going, we've already gone about 45 minutes here. I'd like to get to everyone. I don't know if we will. Definitely have to figure out why the headset went out. But
can you hear me?
I can't hear you, Nick, either. No. So it's got to be my headset going off. Something died somewhere in between that call there. And we'll wrap up the show and go from there. But yeah, Bengals Steelers week. If you don't get excited for this, I want to go further. I want to see what you guys thought about the rest of the AFC. Maybe we can do this again. This was kind of actually easier than I expected. Nick's pulling the strings back there. He's really good at his job. And I'm going with Joe Burrow for 350 this week. And I'm going for Jamar Chase, 75 yards. T. Higgins, 125. Joe Mixon for 140 and 2 touchdowns. He's the MVP of the game. And we got the Bengals winning. Well, I do. Got the Bengals winning 34. I already gave a prediction earlier, but now I'm feeling more confident talking to people. No one was scared. Not one caller or person I want to talk tonight was scared of the Steelers. I'm feeling that. I like that. I like the confidence. I'm going 34-17 now. I added another touchdown to the Bengals lead there for my prediction earlier. But that's a show. Hope you guys enjoyed the live show here. As always, you can follow me on Twitter at Joe Goodberry. I just passed 60,000. I want to thank everyone for that because I never expected to get that close or that far on this internet thing, especially on Twitter. But make sure you hit the like, the notification bells, subscribe, all of that. Even if you just click the video and get out of there, I appreciate all those clicks. And for everyone at the Cincinnati Bengals Talk YouTube page, we appreciate you guys. And we got more shows coming. Make sure you see Alicia's show on Thursday nights and stick with us. And, football season, it's here. Ude.